In the midst of increasing political polarization, few subjects stir as much debate as the independence of the judicial system. Recently, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer made headlines by stating that he had no faith in Donald Trump's judicial system. Schumer's remarks were made in response to recent actions by the Trump administration, including the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. This bold statement reflects Schumer's growing concerns about the politicization of legal processes under the Trump administration. In this article, we delve into Schumer's remarks, the implications of his critique, and what this means for the judicial system in the United States. The basis of Schumer's criticism, Schumer's assertion that he has no faith in the judicial system under Trump, is not an isolated remark. His comments are part of a broader critique that has been voiced by many Democrats and political analysts over the past few years. Schumer points to the Trump administration's actions, including the firing of James Comey and the subsequent legal proceedings, as evidence that the judiciary is being used for political purposes rather than upholding justice. According to Schumer, the legal system is being manipulated to target political opponents, particularly those who stand in opposition to Trump. The Comey case serves as a focal point for Schumer's critique. James Comey, the former FBI director, was unceremoniously fired by President Trump in 2017, triggering a cascade of legal and political consequences. Trump's rationale for firing Comey was based on his handling of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server. However, many believe the real motivation was Trump's dissatisfaction with Comey's handling of the Russia investigation, which was looking into potential Russian interference in the 2016 election and possible ties between Trump's campaign and Russian officials. Schumer believes that Comey's firing was not a genuine legal action, but rather a political maneuver to remove a perceived obstacle to Trump's presidency. The subsequent legal proceedings, including the ongoing investigations and allegations against Comey, have led Schumer to question the integrity of the judicial system. For Schumer, the concern is not just about the specific actions taken against Comey, but about a broader pattern of using the justice system to advance political goals. Political weaponization of the judiciary. The accusation that the judiciary is being weaponized for political purposes is a serious one, and it has been a recurring theme throughout Trump's presidency. Critics argue that Trump's use of executive power, including his influence over the Department of Justice, has undermined the independence of the legal system. The appointment of conservative judges, many of whom have strong political leanings, has further exacerbated concerns that the courts are being politicized. For Schumer, the firing of Comey was just one example of a larger trend. Over the course of Trump's presidency, numerous legal and ethical concerns have been raised about the fairness of the judicial process. Schumer's statement reflects his belief that the justice system is increasingly being used as a tool to punish political opponents and suppress dissent, rather than serving as a neutral arbiter of the law. The implications of such a situation are far-reaching. A judicial system that is perceived as politicized cannot function effectively. Public trust in the courts and legal institutions is essential to the functioning of a democracy. When citizens lose faith in the impartiality of the justice system, they may be less likely to respect its rulings, leading to greater division and distrust in society. The role of the judiciary in a democracy. The role of the judiciary is fundamental to the health of a democracy. In an ideal system, the judiciary acts as a check on executive and legislative power, ensuring that laws are applied fairly and equally to all citizens. Judges are expected to interpret the law based on principles of justice and equity, rather than personal or political beliefs. When the judiciary is functioning properly, it serves as a cornerstone of democratic governance. The independence of the judiciary is essential for maintaining the rule of law and ensuring that individuals are treated fairly under the law. However, when the courts become entangled in political agendas, their legitimacy and effectiveness are called into question. Schumer's criticism of the Trump administration's judicial system is a call to restore the independence of the courts. He argues that if the judiciary is to remain a credible institution, it must be free from political influence and the pressure of partisan interests. The idea is that the courts should not be used to advance the political ambitions of any individual or group, but should instead function as neutral arbiters of the law. Legal experts weigh in to better understand the validity of Schumer's claims. It is important to examine the perspective of legal experts. Many legal scholars and practitioners have raised concerns about the increasing politicization of the judiciary. According to experts, when political leaders exert undue influence over the legal system, it can erode public confidence in the justice system. Legal analyst, name, notes that Schumer's concerns are shared by many in the legal community. When former officials like Comey are targeted in this manner, name says, it raises concerns about the integrity of legal processes. We need to ensure that legal actions are taken based on evidence, not political motivations. According to Name, the primary function of the judiciary is to ensure that justice is served fairly and impartially, regardless of political considerations. Another legal expert, Name, emphasizes that the rule of law requires that legal decisions be made based on facts and the law, not on political pressures. It's essential for the public to believe that legal actions are taken based on evidence, Name argues. If people begin to believe that the legal system is being manipulated for political purposes, we risk losing the trust that is necessary for the system to function effectively. Public trust in the judicial system. Public trust in the judicial system is critical for its legitimacy. If citizens believe that the courts are biased or corrupt, they may be less likely to respect court rulings, which can lead to social unrest and further political division. This is particularly concerning in a country like the United States, where the judiciary is expected to serve as a neutral institution that applies the law fairly to all individuals. Schumer's comments highlight the growing concern among many Americans that the judiciary is no longer functioning as an independent institution. Polls have shown that trust in the courts has been steadily declining in recent years, particularly among groups that feel that the legal system is biased against them. This erosion of trust is compounded by the increasing partisanship that has come to characterize American politics. The lack of faith in the judicial system is not just a concern for political figures like Schumer, but for everyday citizens as well. When people lose confidence in the legal system, they may be less likely to seek justice through the courts, opting instead for other means of redress. This can have serious consequences for social stability and the functioning of democratic institutions. Restoring faith in the judiciary. So what can be done to restore faith in the judicial system? According to Schumer and other critics of the Trump administration, the first step is to ensure that the judiciary is allowed to operate without political interference. This means that legal decisions should be based on facts, evidence, and the law, rather than on political agendas. Moreover, there needs to be greater transparency in the judicial process. When legal decisions are made behind closed doors or with little public scrutiny, it can create a perception of bias or favoritism. To rebuild trust, the judiciary must be open and accountable to the public, demonstrating that its actions are based on the principles of justice, not political considerations. Additionally, reforms may be necessary to ensure that judicial appointments are made based on qualifications and merit rather than political loyalty. Schumer and other lawmakers have called for reforms to the judicial nomination process, arguing that the current system allows presidents to appoint judges who are ideologically aligned with their political views, rather than judges who are truly independent. Conclusion: a crucial moment for the judiciary. Chuck Schumer's criticism of the Trump administration's judicial system is part of a larger debate about the independence of the courts and the politicization of legal processes. Schumer's comments reflect growing concerns about the integrity of the justice system, particularly in the wake of high-profile cases like the firing of James Comey. As the legal and political landscape continues to evolve, it is clear that the future of the judiciary is at a critical crossroads. The judiciary must remain independent if it is to maintain its legitimacy and effectiveness. Legal decisions must be made based on facts, evidence, and the law, not political considerations. Restoring public trust in the judiciary will require significant effort, including reforms to the judicial appointment process, greater transparency in legal proceedings, and a commitment to upholding the rule of law above partisan interests. If these challenges can be met, there is hope for restoring faith in the judicial system and ensuring that it remains a cornerstone of American democracy.